Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live. Somebody, let's go.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. Hope this show finds you in good spirits, because another day above the dirt is always a blessing. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Seriously, happy Monday to every single last one, y'all. There's a lot that's been going on since last night. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to come back on here with you guys and talk about a bunch of stuff because, life be lifing and all that. But I am here to chat it up with you guys about this thing that dropped late last night. And then, of course, there is some other stuff that's been popping off. And I will probably have to do that and cover that on another conversation on another show. All right. But there are some things that are percolating out here in these streets, and something that's going on here. I feel that there is a reason why Anthony Rico left. Yeah, left Diddy's team. Yes. And I think it all has to do with everything that's going on in here and then some. Okay? And then some. So, before we get into everything, please do me a favor. All right? We're going to be going into this fairly quickly. So, do me a favor. Hit that like button down below. First off, let me just say this. Get on in here. Get your butts in here. All right? Hop on in. The water's just fine. I tested it out myself. Put a whole foot in, not even just the toe. Put a whole foot in. So come on in. All right. We got some things to talk about. All right. So hit that like button down below. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on other platforms. If you are watching on those other platforms like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, make sure you hit that follow button. Follow. Hit that subscribe button here on my main channel. Go to my secondary channel, The Pascal Show Clips. I got other things that I'm talking about over there as well. You definitely want to be subscribed to both channels. It's called The Pascal Show Clips. Make sure you are subscribed. Hit that notification bell. Set to all so you know whenever I upload or go live. All right? Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon. Check out my locals. And, of course, do not forget to check out PascalMerch.com. We got some really great stuff over there, baby. So go check it out. I guarantee you're going to find something you're going to love right there. Put that on your skin. All right? I don't know why I said it like that. Just run with me, okay? PascalMerch.com. All right? Let's get into this. Okay, guys. Okay. Woo! What a day. What a night last night. I'm just going to say that. What a night last night. Having something like this just drop out of the sky. And I got to be honest. We're going to look at an article that's going to give us a little bit of a summary of everything. And then, of course, we're going to be going into the paperwork itself, because obviously the paperwork is always much more fun than the articles. Just to be real, there's so much more information. There's all these little nuanced pieces of information, etc., that aren't that sometimes articles leave out, right? But now we got something that's very interesting. Diddy is in some Diddy skirt. Diddy skirt, y'all. Diddy definitely skirt. And there's a lot, I feel like there's a lot. Let me just show you guys the title, okay? All right. Diddy is trying to challenge the search warrants that happened in the searches to his houses in LA and Miami. I'm sorry, I gotta hit this too. Like, really? Really? Now? You doing it now? Ain't it a little bit late? I'm just saying, ain't it a little bit late? Even my baby going like, yeah, ain't it a little bit late? Yeah. Ain't it a little bit late? Wouldn't you say? So let me just finish this title, okay? I'm sorry, but I stop at like, he's challenging the search warrants that were conducted in LA and Miami. And they're saying the feds offered distorted pictures of facts. So in other words, They lied. They're saying that the feds lied. Again, let's not forget. Remember the other search? Remember back in the day? Remember it was such a wonderful day. Okay, that one day way back in the day, when we were youngins, and there was a prison raid, and they were conducting a whole bunch of prison raids in that area, and they went into his little cubby hole, his cell, and they found evidence, and they took photos of those things, and they did it by the book, right? Remember, for weeks, his team was sitting there going, Diddy's team was going, but it was the wind the entire time, right? Blaming everything under the sun, trying to come up with anything they could to try to get this man to walk. Once again, we're at the BS moment of the story again. Like, I feel like we're repeating. It's the same story. It's just a different attack. It's just a different angle. Let me just repeat this again. They raided multiple prisons. They went into multiple cells. Diddy's cell happened to be one of them. They found a bunch of stuff, legal pads, or, notebooks with a bunch of notes in them that did not say anything about them being legal or not. So, of course, the investigator went in there, took photos, took a whole bunch of photos of all the evidence that he could look at, presented it to a filter team, or they also call it the taint team. Literally, they call it the taint team. But moving on. But it's just too funny. Moving on. They filter through all these things, and they find out whether or not those things are if they violate attorney-client privilege or anything of that sort. Whatever they filter through, they hand over to the prosecution, right? We went through all of that stuff, right? He was going in. His team was sitting there going, but the entire time. But the entire doggone time, all right? About that raid. The judge said, we read it just a few days ago. I think there's so many Diddy things going on. I don't even know what day is what. Okay. But the judge came back and said, hey, what they did was by the book. There is nothing there that you can look at and say was illegal. So everything still stands. And then the judge even said, also on top of it, the prosecution even said themselves that they don't need any of the evidence in the doggone mother-loving cell. Why, you may ask? Because of things that they have already pitted up against Diddy. Do you want to know where they have most of their stuff? Do you want to know where they got most of their stuff, y'all? I'll give you like 3 seconds. From these doggone raids, guys, that happened in Miami and LA. Yes. So now, see. Now, I will say this. I'm being very nice here. Okay. Yeah, I'm just a glass half full kind of guy. Diddy's team is very smart here. This is the only time I'm going to say something nice. So just take it in. Let it soak in. All right. They're very smart with this, but it's very desperate. But they're very smart. Why? Because, hey, they're going, well, if we can't move and get that stuff, if we can't get the judge to be like, okay, that's fine, we're going to get rid of these. They did something illegal, so Diddy can walk. If we can't get it there were other raids, though. Were there things that were done that were wrong during those raids? Aha! We can go through the paperwork and misinterpret what's written on legal documents and try to spin it so we can make it seem like the feds were doing us dirty, guys. That's what they're doing now. Now they're going, wait a second. They misled us. They told us that they were going to go and do this, this, and this. And then guess what? What are they doing now? They're going through all of our stuff. They're going all through his stuff. And that was wrong. They're messing with us. They're messing with Diddy. He didn't know that they were going to go there and find 1,000 bottles of lube on the wall. You know what I'm saying? How dare they go and find all that stuff? They are still, by the way, they are still alleging that the feds are the ones that leaked that video with Cassie. They are still saying that, guys. Do you understand how insane this is? Diddy scared. Oh, baby. Diddy scared. Okay? Shiver me timbers. He is terrified. Let's take a look at this article real quick, and then we're going to go into this paperwork, all right? Because it's like 30 pages. So, Diddy's legal team. I still can't believe this is real. This is so bad. To me, this looks like he's skirt. He real skirt. Okay, War? He real skirt. Skirt. All right? And has anybody used this detox fasting challenge? Apparently, it has a lot of eggs. Do you know how expensive eggs are? Damn. Moving on, though. Diddy's legal team is attacking the search warrants federal agents obtained to raid his homes and examine his internet history. Don't never look at no man's internet history. Oh, especially Diddy's. Are you insane? Right there, I'm scared. Right there, he should be terrified. He should be terrified. Do you understand? Okay, moving on. Examine his internet history. It's a wrap. I'm sorry. It's a wrap. Oh my God. Him dead. Just off the internet history. Okay? He didn't wipe out no cookies. If you guys, you know what I'm talking about. Moving on. Claiming feds made false statements in their application. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. These are jokes, guys. I'm just having fun. We're having fun. Okay. So, claiming feds, quote unquote, made false statements in their applications for their warrants. Moving on. Diddy's lawyers filed documents on late Sunday night, asking a judge to suppress all evidence obtained in the searches because the government presented, quote unquote, grossly distorted picture of the facts when obtaining the warrants. So they're sitting there going, they are basically saying, yeah, we're just going to go in there and just take a look. We're just going to walk around. You know, we understand your homes are like mausoleums. We just want to walk in and just see what they look like. You know, my wife is a really amazing, very talented interior decorator. She just wants to get some notes from what you did, Diddy. So we're just going to walk in and check out the space. Okay, that's all we're going to do. We're going to take notes. Are you kidding me? You know exactly what they're going to do when they walk in that mug. And if they find something incriminating, what are they going to do? They're going to scoop it up. They're going to scoop it up, aren't they? So Diddy's team says the feds had a variety of evidence that prove at least one alleged victim willingly participated in this F-off, in the freak-offs, okay? In court documents, the feds define a freak-off, which we already know. This is, you know, activity that Diddy was doing with people. Some were pros, some were workers, and some were people there, you know, other volunteers, and some people were there against their will. Let's not forget that. Allegedly. Let's not forget that. Diddy's side adds probable cause statements the federal government compiled were intentionally misleading. And ultimately, their attempts worked. And they were able to secure warrants before leaking damaging information, aka the Cassie Diddy video. They're still on that. They still believe that video was leaked by the feds. And I'll tell you what, feds are still sitting here going like, listen, don't look at me. It was not us. We're doing everything by the book. So whoever leaked that ish was not us. But Diddy's team still believes that information was leaked. Not only just that, but the $100,000, 1,000 bottles of baby oil and all that information that leaked out, they're blaming the feds. All right. Federal government hid the alleged victims' financial motivations for making their accusations. Diddy's team adds, Diddy's team adds, okay, another misrepresentation they want addressed. So, as you know, we already know about all this stuff, okay? Federal agents say they recovered numerous pieces of evidence in their raids, including hard drives and surveillance equipment. They also famously claimed to recover more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Baby oil. Okay? Now, we already know about all these raids and all that. But what's crazy to me is that Diddy is trying to do everything in his power to get this stuff thrown out because he's saying the feds sent things to him being like, no. Nothing. We didn't. Don't worry. We're just going in to take a look at a few things. What do you think a raid is for? Seriously, what do you think a raid is for? They're supposed to go in there and get evidence. So if they go in there and they find a whole bunch of stuff, okay, whole bunch of hard drives, surveillance videos, I don't know, baby oil and lube, anything that could be incriminating, paraphernalia, substances of some kind, etc., any of those things. If they find those in a raid, they can take those things. That's what raids are for, aren't they? Yeah. Sorry, guys. That was a little bit of a throwback of a song that I'm sure some of y'all are like, what is that? What song is that? Yeah, that's a throwback. But still, that is what a raid is for. So what are they saying to Diddy and Diddy's team that would throw them off to the point that they would literally think, oh, no, they threw us off. That's wrong. A raid is a raid is a raid is a raid, right? As the saying goes, it doesn't. Just keep working with me, guys. All right? Just keep up. All right? But let's take a look at this document, which I think is trash. Okay? Yes, beautiful. Bullsh. Okay? Yes. Keep shining. Okay? Yeah. See? Dionne Warwick. I'm proud of you guys. Yes. I'm proud of you guys. I'm so proud of y'all. Okay? Man, look at you guys coming out with, now you guys are singing the song in y'all's heads. Okay? I'm proud of y'all. Okay, let me get this super chat here really quick before we continue. Carbonized, thank you so much. I don't warn the wasp before I spray the raid. Exactly. That was funny. I need to write that one down. That was amazing. Hilarious. Okay, I gotta repeat that again. That's the quote of the day. Okay, I don't warn the wasps before I spray the raid. Okay, you imagine doing that? Like, hello, hi, how you doing? I'm human. How you doing? Hi, waspies. I'm about to spray this. So if you want to leave before you die, just letting you know, I'm gonna spray this with raid. So you might want to leave. Just a heads up. It could kill you. Uh-oh, watch out. Ooh, I got you on your wing. Uh-oh. Suddenly you can't fly no more. I warned you. That's what these raids are for. So anyway, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. All right. So I don't warn the wasp before I spray the raid. Absolutely. You spray that mug and you watch them. You watch him like a dirty little serial killer. Anyway, feds subscribe to the same with raids. Absolutely. In before they hide the evidence. Absolutely. Okay. Lil old me gets it. Diddy, you don't? Boo. Shots fired. Oh. Pew pew to Diddy. Okay. Carbonize with the always. I mean, you should be dropping bars. You should be just be a ghostwriter for like Drake. Because he needs ones really bad right now. He does. He really does. And he's Canadian. Huh? There's a connection right there. Holla at Drake. He needs a ghostwriter right now badly. Okay. He needs a not like they not like us. Okay. He needs one bad. All right. So holla at your boy. Holla at your Canadian boy. Send him a bottle of maple syrup. Okay, I'm done. But seriously, I'm getting weak over myself. Okay, let's get into this. Just saying. Maple syrup. All right. Isn't that like the the common way of it's like a kind gesture, like a basket of maple syrup, Is that what Canadians do? No? It's not what they do? Okay. I thought that's what they did. I stand corrected. But let's get into this, guys. All right. And I'm kidding. Okay. No disrespect to any of my Canadian brothers and sisters. I love all y'all. Okay. These are just jokes. But yes, Drake, Aubrey, he needs some help. So Carbonize, you need to holler. All right. Because that first line could be one of his first lines in one of his next songs. Okay. Lover Boy 2 or something. Just something to think about. All right. I'm trying to help people expand and transcend. Okay. Answer to their true calling. All right. But let's get into this. Okay. Maple syrup. Canadians. Let's move on into this. So here's the introduction. Okay. So the government has a duty of candor when it seeks warrants. The nature of the proceeding mandates secrecy. So the process is not adversarial. Precisely for that reason, investigators have an obligation to present a fair picture of the evidence, including both inculpatory and exculpatory facts. While investigators need not present a magistrate with every bit of evidence they have discovered, they must nonetheless include a reasonably even-handed account, and they cannot omit critical exculpatory facts that might undermine a finding of probable cause. As the Second Circuit has instructed, investigators should include evidence should include evidence if it is, quote unquote, the kind of thing the judge would wish to know in determining whether probable cause exists. Moving on, the government in this case utterly failed to do so. It sought several warrants to search Diddy's residence, his electronic devices, and his person, and it presented a grossly distorted picture of the facts. It included only inculpatory facts, and it excluded critical exculpatory evidence that was indisputably in its possession at the time. So that's the thing. What exculpatory evidence did they get that they just happened to push over to the side, happened to omit, right? That's the thing I think is weird. Because again, if you have countless gigs of content, baby oil, photos, God knows what, right? If you have all that stuff, I mean, it outweighs any of this, what they would say, critical exculpatory evidence. But again, what is this exculpatory evidence? Is it signed contracts of these people being like, yes, I'm here to have, to be a part of these freak offs. And yes, I consent to having, relations with a bunch of people in this room at this particular time. You see what I'm saying? If it's not that, then what is it? Right? Exculpatory is exculpatory. So what that be? Right? Anyway, and again, what would that information be that would definitely get Diddy free? And why didn't they talk about this months ago? This is them not even scraping the bottom of the barrel. They've already scraped through the bottom of the barrel, and now they just hit ground. Now they're just scraping the ground that's underneath the damn barrel right now. I'm sorry. Okay? That's just how I see it. But let's move on. The government claimed victims were coerced into, carnal things, okay? But it failed to inform the magistrate that blah, redacted. It also failed to inform the magistrate that it possessed text messages between the alleged victims and Mr. Combs and somebody else, probably somebody a part of his enterprise, to be really honest. The applications were intentionally misleading, which at a minimum requires a Frank's hearing. So the warrants themselves were also grossly overboard on a theory that Diddy's entire life was a criminal enterprise. The government sought virtually limitless authority to seize any evidence related to that quote unquote enterprise, all of his digital devices and the information they contained, all information in his iCloud accounts, plus troves of records and items in his houses, almost none of which was contraband. Okay, so as in U.S. versus Way, where Judge Nathan found similar warrants unconstitutional, where the government obtained authority, quote unquote, to rummage at will among Diddy's private effects. All right, but I don't know. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you if they're gonna say we're raiding this place, and apparently rumor has it is that he knew that these raids were going to happen. He just didn't know when they were going to happen. And then, of course, like I said, if they go in there and they find stuff, you're telling me that they can't go and grab those things? That doesn't make any sense. Perhaps most troublingly, the government received essentially limitless authority to search his digital devices, which contained a quote-unquote vast trove of personal information. The Supreme Court and Second Circuit have repeatedly warned it is especially important that digital device searches must be limited and particularized. The warrants here were not. The warrants were thus unconstitutional general warrants, and the evidence obtained through those warrants must be suppressed. Interesting. Again, in my personal opinion, trying to move the goalpost, and they're trying to move the goalpost solely on a technicality. If this is even a technicality, let's just say a technicality that I'm sure the judge is going to look at and say, nah, sorry. This gives the feds, if the judge writes off on a search, they can do whatever the hell they want. They can grab whatever they want. And then they go and they sift through it and they find what is inculpatory and what's exculpatory. But if they don't find anything that's going to, exonerate Diddy, then they don't find anything that exonerates Diddy. That's it. You got to remember, they've been watching Diddy for a very, very long time. I just want to say this really quick. They've been watching Diddy for some time now. So it wouldn't make any sense for them to just go after his home and then arrest him months later after this raid. It would, if they had nothing. They had plenty of stuff. They're not going to just make things up to throw this man and keep this man in jail. I'm telling you right now, they're not. They would not have arrested him in the first place. The feds are going to try to stay as much as they can on their P's and Q's. They're going to do their due diligence. So it doesn't make sense for them to sit there and go, oh, no. What they did is wrong. It's like, wait a second. No, they did everything by the book. They did everything by the book. So they can't sit there and just try to make up which is what they're doing. This is what I believe. They're making things up. They're moving the goalposts as best as they can. And again, they will fail. The judge is going to look at this and go, what is this? They did no wrong. It'd be a different story if there was evidence in there that they have that would show proof positive that he was an innocent person. But the feds aren't going to go and double, triple, quadruple down on arresting Diddy if they really don't think that they have their man. I'm just telling you, because you got to remember, this is a representation of not only just the feds themselves, it's for everything. So again, moving the goalpost. Moving on though. So factual background. During its investigation, the government executed numerous search warrants on January 4th, 2024. It received a warrant to obtain all information in Combs' iCloud accounts. On March 22nd, 2024, it received 2 warrants to search Combs' residences in, of course, LA and Miami. Both applications were based on substantially identical affidavits sworn by HSI Special Agent Sean Quinn. 3 days later, on March 25th, the government obtained an additional warrant to search Combs' person and to seize two of his cell phones. The warrants sought to obtain evidence related to possible crimes of racketeering, STing, and obstruction of justice. The list of these items to be seized at the residences was incredibly broad, spanning pages, and included, among other categories, all digital devices found within the residences. The list of information to be obtained from the devices were similarly broad. Okay. But as detailed below, the warrant applications presented a grossly distorted picture of reality, like we talked about in the article. The government had in its possession, for example, a variety of evidence, including redacted, suggesting victim one's participation in the alleged freak-offs, or FOs, was voluntary and consensual, not coerced, as the government suggested in its applications. The government's claims, blank, was based primarily on statements from producer one, an utterly unreliable witness whose claims were contradicted by other evidence that the government failed to mention. And the government's obstruction allegations were based largely on texts and statements taken out of context, a critical part of the context being that redacted, which is annoying. Okay. The affiant also failed to mention that nearly every witness he interviewed had blank, giving them a financial motive to fabricate or embellish. The probable cause statements were intentionally misleading, but it worked. The government got its warrants, leaked damaging information right there, and then executed its military-style raids at Combs' residences. Through this duplicity, the government obtained evidence, including multiple electronic devices with an enormous amount of information about his entire life and an enormous and unfair tactical advantage. It continued to press its advantage, obtaining an indictment and multiple additional warrants, which were also incredibly broad. Okay, argument number one. Excuse me, guys. I'm still fighting this cold a little bit. All right. The government's warrant applications contained intentionally or recklessly deceptive statements and omissions. A, Warrant applications may not omit critical exculpatory evidence. Under the Fourth Amendment, a warrant may only issue upon a showing of probable cause. But as then Judge Barrett wrote, the warrant clause is quote unquote not merely a probable cause guarantee. Rather, it is a guarantee that a warrant will not issue unless a neutral and disinterested magistrate independently decides that probable cause exists. A magistrate can only perform that function if the government provides an accurate and complete statement of the evidence demonstrating probable cause. Under Franks versus Delaware, if a statement of a probable cause contains material false or misleading statements or omissions, then the warrant is invalid, and any evidence obtained pursuant to the warrant must be suppressed. To suppress evidence obtained pursuant to a warrant, a defendant must show, 1, that the warrant application contained intentionally or recklessly misleading statements or omissions, and 2, that the falsehoods of omissions were material and necessary to the warrant's issuance. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Moving on. Okay. To obtain a Frank's hearing, a defendant need only make a quote unquote substantial preliminary showing as to each prong. I'm going to skip some of this here. Blah, 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 blah. Reckless or intent may be inferred where the omitted information was clearly critical to the probable cause determination. So suppressing evidence after finding reckless omissions. So as noted, a warrant application can be false either through affirmative false statements or misleading omissions. An application must contain a reasonably complete statement of the evidence, including exculpatory evidence, as they italicized, all right, including exculpatory evidence that would be critical to the evaluation of probable cause, quote unquote, though an officer need not volunteer every fact that arguably cuts against the existence of probable cause. The officer may not omit circumstances that are critical to the evaluation of probable cause. And this is from Brown v. D'Amico. All right. An officer similarly violates the Fourth Amendment if he intentionally or recklessly withholds material information from a probable cause affidavit. While an application need not include, quote unquote, every potentially potentially every specific detail that would interest a novelist or gossip, an investigator cannot make unilateral decisions about the materiality of information, or merely inform the magistrate or judge of inculpatory evidence. Simply put, an affiant seeking a warrant cannot withhold important exculpatory evidence from the magistrate. They put all this extra blah, 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 blah. But here it is. Okay. I keep pressing. What evidence, aside from what exculpatory evidence is there, aside from their making claims that there were certain people that were getting paid or they were on a certain, like some sort of payroll, right? Like they mentioned a few pages before. You know, again, for them to sit there and say, oh, there's exculpatory evidence. What is it? Because again, that was a lot of filler, Noah, a lot of filler. But it does make you wonder, what is it? What are they pertaining to? Period. What are they pertaining to? Because again, you can sit here all day long going, oh, there's exculpatory evidence that they omitted and all that. Then what is it? What is it? Is it the freak off tapes and that they were all having a good time? Right? Like that they say, oh, she was enjoying every minute of it, which is completely disgusting and wrong for them to say that, right? The only other thing, I was even thinking that same thing, Michelle. What, NDAs? But still, no matter what, if a crime is done and a crime is committed, an NDA is not exculpatory evidence. If those victims are saying that they were violated and they were taken, and crimes were done against them, that NDA goes right out the window, guys. So again, it's like what are you talking about? If there was absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, illegal activity happening in these videos and all that stuff, then what are you talking about? It's still a crime. So what is it that is exculpatory if there was crimes that were being done in those videos? If they really were littles in these videos and all that stuff, damn right. It does make you wonder, where is the proof of him being an innocent man, right? So again, it's like, you can miss me with all that, okay? Those NDAs are absolute null and void if crimes were done in those videos. That's it. Doesn't matter if that person is getting paid. If they were actually violated, that still omits the fact that they were being supported financially. You mean to tell me, oh, she got paid, so it's okay that she got AR'd? No, it's not. That's wrong. And it's still illegal. You see what I'm saying? So again, what is this, as they say here, the duty to include critical exculpatory evidence, right? What is this critical exculpatory evidence? And again, even if it's something very small, it does not. It may be like, okay, maybe he didn't do that one thing that one time, but what about all the racketeering? What about all the STing? What about him putting his hands on Cassie, caught on video? All those things, right? All those things. A lot of those things omit one piece of, let's just say, of course, and I'm just, guesstimating, but like one piece of exculpatory evidence. You see what I'm saying? That omits everything. If crimes were being done in the place, then you can miss me with the nonsense of, evidence that would exonerate their client, Diddy. Okay? This is still making Diddy the diddler no matter what. But moving on. The duty to include critical exculpatory evidence includes a duty to reveal information that undermines the credibility of a confidential informant or other witness. Okay, so that's very interesting. This undermines a witness or confidential informant, a CI, right? When the government relies on witnesses' statements rather than an investigator's own observations, their quote-unquote credibility is plainly relevant, even critical, to the probable cause determination. The failure to provide known information that goes directly to the credibility of a witness or informant violates an investigator's duty to disclose. The government made false statements and omitted critical exculpatory evidence in its warrant applications in this case. The omitted evidence was in the government's possession at the time it sought the warrants. So this omitted evidence they had in their possession before they even went and got the warrants. So again, what could that be? Somebody just sitting there going, oh no, everything was consensual with me. So what about the 120 other people that are going after Diddy right now? Like I said, they had more than enough probable cause to go in there and get what they needed. The omissions were intentional, or at the very least, reckless. Again, okay, I'm sorry. We're going to continue. I promise. We're going to blaze through the next 10 pages, real talk. But here, let me just say this really quick. Remember, this is the same doggone thing. This is the same doggone thing that they did with the prison raid. They sat there going, oh, they were reckless. They did this, this, and this. You see what they did? Judge, don't you see what they did? They messed up. They done messed up. They did something illegal. See what they did? See what they did? This is almost like they just copied and pasted, except this is now about his homes. And again, like I said earlier, why? Why would they suddenly now start talking about it now? The only reason why they're saying it now is because what the prosecution said. Think about that. The prosecution said, oh, we good. We got enough. We got surveillance footage. We got witnesses. We got his hard drives with the freak offs on them. We got plenty of stuff. So we don't really need the stuff in the prison raid because we already got the stuff from his house raids. So we good. And so now they're sitting there, they're freaking out, and they're going, well, no, that's wrong. You did something wrong there, you see? You see what happened? You did something wrong. So again, they're making things up to try to do everything they can, okay? They're trying to do everything they can to move the goalpost again. So this is almost like a rubber stamp response from his team in a way, okay? And thank you. Evocative. Thank you. You know, when I'm speed reading through this stuff and going through it, I'm like, evocative. So thank you so much. Evocative. Okay, guys? Evocative. Word of the day. All right, but let's continue on. All right. Okay, so moving on. The government's warrant applications hid critical exculpatory evidence regarding victim one's consent and financial motive. The core allegation in the warrant applications, the government's entire case, is that Combs, Diddy, forced victim one to participate in freak-offs. In its March warrant applications to search the residences, it stated, redacted. This statement was based on the interviewer's interview with victim one, which took place 5 years after the events. But the government unaccountably failed to inform the magistrate of a timeline. Okay, both of which severely undermined its account. It's not like they said, well, this victim was a victim 2 days ago. Okay, like I said, I just don't get how that is even relevant. All right? Okay, that doesn't make it any sense. Okay, but let's continue. When it sought the warrants to search Diddy's residences, the government had already obtained one device from victim one that contained redacted. Wow, redaction. Okay, so a lot of stuff not so great. I'm sure a lot of damning stuff. A lot of damning stuff. But moving on. Unbelievably, the government did not blank in the warrant applications or even inform the magistrate blank. Faced with a claim of coerced and forced okay, the redacted is the sort of thing that any fact finder would wish to know. Interesting. This was no accidental omission. By the time it obtained the warrants to search Diddy's residences, the government had also already obtained redaction. Once again, these redacted stuff contradict the government's claims that the FOs were coerced. Let me say that again. Once again, this proof, whatever they had, contradict the claims that these F-offs were actually coerced solely because of something that was obtained inside Diddy's residence. More redactions. A whole bunch of redactions. Look, man, that's crazy. Government alleged redaction, but it failed to mention redaction. The government alleged that redaction, but it failed to mention redaction. More generally, even as their relationship deteriorated and the two managed a breakup, Redaction. Now, see, this is the thing. They're literally leaning on, for what we understand from what I'm gathering. Okay, and I'm just going back up to all the redactions because this is ridiculous. But look at this. Okay, obtain warrants for the searchers' residences. They had already obtained certain things. So once again, that stuff that they had contradict that these things, that these freak offs were forced, right? But you also got to remember, some of these freak offs were consensual and some of them were not. Let's be real, okay? He's done a freak off aplenty, and I'm sure not every single time was there somebody being plied with substances and then being, a victim of vicious crimes. So sure, I'm sure there's going to be people in there going, yeah, I went into those things and we had a great time. It was totally legal. I mean, we were doing illegal things to get our rocks off, but nothing illegal outside of substance use happened. It was just a bunch of grown people having a good time and partying. That's it. But outside of that, you're telling me that there weren't other people that were held against their will? There weren't people that were made to do certain things? Cassie, in her claims, you really think that she's just making that stuff up, and every single time she was in these freak offs, it was completely 110% consensual? I'm going to say no to that. Hail to no. So, they are important evidence. Let's continue. They show the context of the relationship, and they also redaction. They are quote unquote the kind of thing that any magistrate judge would wish to know when reviewing a warrant application in an STing case. Yet, the warrant applications cannot even not even a hint of them. That's interesting. Yet the warrants application contained not even a hint of them. They didn't even inform the magistrate judge that this evidence existed. They simply stated this thing, redacted. This was intentionally misleading. And then such and such contradicted victim one's later account and gave the investigator obvious reasons to doubt the veracity of the allegations. Blah, blah, blah. The investigator was thus legally required to disclose them. Okay, moving on. Such and such contradict the applications in other ways too. The application said redaction. Again, tell a different story. Redaction. The warrant application also claimed redaction. Once again, the government hid evidence to the contrary. For example, which again makes no sense, okay? No sense. As the government has since conceded in disclosure letters, redaction. Moreover, the government hid evidence that Combs at times discouraged someone from using so many substances. So he could be sitting there going like, I need you alert so we can, continue our movie, continue making our movie. Or I need you to stop because I don't want you to go overboard. I don't need to call the police. I don't want to call 911. Stop taking so much. Get yourself back in the game, but stop taking so damn much, man. Dang. You know what I mean? That could mean so many different things. That does not mean anything. Finally, the warrant application contained no mention of victim one's financial motive to exaggerate and falsify. As the government knew, redaction, thus provided an unusually strong motive to fabricate years after the underlying events. I'm assuming that there was some sort of relationship. Okay, the victim wants financial motives to exaggerate and falsify that maybe there was some sort of romance thing going on, or maybe this was somebody who was a side piece of some sort, but that was involved in these freak offs. Maybe there was a romantic, a romance going on, and then they parted ways, and now they're saying, okay, this could be a reason why this person is talking because they are a disgruntled ex. But you don't think the feds thought about that or, thought that through before they went into all this? I mean, let's be real. Like I said, meh. Okay, suggests that now we got redaction. Suggests that years after her relationship, she changed her story in a way that would cause maximum potential damage to Diddy, and thus give him maximum incentive to agree to a large payment. This is exactly the sort of evidence that, quote unquote, goes directly to the credibility of the witness, whose story provided the core of the government's applications. Now, I feel like it's safe to say that this is all about Cassie. But let's not forget what happened with Cassie, y'all. Didn't she walk out with 30-some-odd million dollars? Didn't she drop a huge lawsuit against Diddy? Gave him an opportunity, and he said, shoot, forget all about that. You trying to get me for how much? Go have fun, girl. And then it got exposed to the world, and then the feds started going in. So it doesn't even matter if she was on retainer. The fact that he went and he settled this the next day out of court with her, gave her the 30 million that she wanted, or whatever the hell it was, says a lot. And this was the lawsuit that launched 1,000 feds towards Diddy. If it wasn't for Cassie doing what she did, Diddy would not be locked up right now. Real talk. So victim one is most definitely Cassie. But the fact that his team is trying to use this against the feds is ridiculous. Oh, she was disgruntled. Their relationship was this, and this. She was on retainer. She was getting paid, so on and so forth. She changed her story, okay, to try to destroy Diddy. If that was the case, then why did he settle with her so damn quickly? Like I said, why would he settle with her so damn quickly? It's because she had enough smoking gun evidence to take him down. And now that even when he went and tried to shut it all the way down, what happened? What happened then? He's locked up now, ain't he? Too little, too late. So it's ridiculous for the feds to try, or it's not feds. It's ridiculous for Diddy's team to try to move the goalpost by using Cassie. Cassie's the worst example. Like I said, the judge is going to look at, I believe the judge is going to look at this and go, and he's going to go through, I'm sure he went through all 30 of these pages and said, okay, and because this is weak sauce in my personal opinion. But to me, this is definitely Cassie. This is definitely about Cassie. All right. But moving on, as courts around the country have held, evidence that undermines the credibility of a key witness must be revealed because the magistrate judge must be given the opportunity to assess the totality of the circumstances. Here, rather than giving the reviewing magistrate of a fair summary, the government hid exculpatory evidence to bolster its case. The warrant applications were, quote unquote, calculated to mislead, omitting, quote unquote, clearly critical evidence. I'd really like to know what that clearly critical evidence may be. But moving on. And actually, before we continue on, okay, do me a solid, guys. All right. It's a simple ask. Do me a favor. Hit that like button down below, please, and thank you. Crush it. All right. Show some love if you can. Let's see where we're at here real quick. Yeah, let's get it to like 800 likes. Can you get it to 800 likes? That's all I'm asking, okay? And of course, do not forget to subscribe. Subscribe. We talk about a lot of things on this channel. All right. We have been following the Diddler case, and we will continue to follow the Diddler case because we about to be marching into March, okay? We are marching into March, all right? And allegedly, there's going to be some things dropping sometime this coming month that I'm sure it's going to blow everybody's wigs back. All right. So make sure you're subscribed. Subscribe to my secondary channel, The Pascal Show Clips. Make sure you're subscribed. All right. And make sure you have those notification bells set to all. All right. So you know when I go live and whenever I go and upload a video. All right. Let's move on. The government's warrants applications hid critical exculpatory evidence regarding credibility of other witnesses. The government also sought to corroborate victim one's allegations and make related allegations with statements with other witnesses and victims. Again, the government hid evidence undermining these witnesses' credibility and presenting misleading and selective accounts. We are not dealing here with omission of a few ancillary facts. This is a case of systemic deception. Oh, systemic deception. Okay, systemic deception. That's a new one for me. S worker number 1. The government relied on information from S worker 1, redaction. But S worker 1 has also given the government exculpatory information, none of which was included in the warrant applications. In its December 29th, 2024 discovery letter, for example, the government revealed that blah. More redaction. These statements from a key participant in the freak-offs undermined the allegations that redaction. And they corroborate redaction. It is unclear when the government received this information. The government has also stated redaction, something any investigator would have asked. It is also unclear what other exculpatory statements S worker 1 made about redaction. That is precisely why a Frank's hearing is required to learn more about what the government knew and when. Moreover, even if the government was not aware of redaction, it could have been aware had it asked. Now, again, is a Frank's hearing really important? Is it needed? I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but in my mind, I don't think we do need it. Okay? This is just them trying to buy more time. To me, this is what it sounds like. Because you know for a fact, I don't know. Like I said, this is just my gut feeling. I'm just saying this from the gut. I truly believe that the judge is going to look at this and go, this is a waste of time. And nah, I'm not with it, right? They're just going to be like, nah, this is BS. We're going to continue on. We're going to do what we need to do. We don't need a Frank's hearing. But the fact that they're asking for it now, like I said, why are they asking for it now, guys? The hell are they doing asking for it now? It just doesn't make any sense. Rianne, thank you so much for gifting 1 membership. Welcome to the family, you new member. Welcome to the family. And whoever just got that, please do me a favor. Do something positive today. Okay, Rianne just hooked you up with some love. Just pay it forward. Okay, open the door for somebody. Like we talked about yesterday, make somebody a sandwich. All right, just give somebody a sandwich. If you're Canadian, just hand over a bottle of maple syrup. Okay, and just say a. I don't know. Okay, a nice bouquet of maple syrups. Okay, just do something positive. Or if you're a Canadian, I don't know, carve out a boat, whatever it may be. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't mean to go after all you Canadians. I'm just joking. Moving on. Do you guys make boats? Okay, let's get back into it though. Frank's hearing. Okay, Carbonized did not like maple syrup. What? But you Canadian. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Let's get into this, guys. Let's get back into it. Okay. But I do not think that a Frank's hearing is that important. I don't. I think this is just them buying time. Truly. Because they are literally trying to find anything under the sun to get an excuse to try to get things thrown out. Because they know for a fact that the feds got his ass like bad. The guy, oh my God, the feds got Diddy's tookus. Okay. His prolapse butthole is done. Okay. His booty is done. Okay. It's a wrap for Diddy. A wrap. And they're just sitting there trying to make things up for no reason whatsoever. Like I said, they're singing for their supper. They most definitely singing for their supper right now. But at the same time, will it stick? All right, moving on. Again, they're saying the accuracy of information is reckless. All right. So, given the government's loose relationship, see what loose. Moving on. Given the government's loose relationship with the truth throughout its warrant applications, I'm sorry, I'm 12. The most obvious inference is that the government was already aware of S Worker One's exculpatory statements, but simply failed to include them in the applications. It did exactly what the Second Circuit forbids, merely informing the magistrate or judge of inculpatory evidence. So what is it? Okay. What is it? Just saying. What is the evidence that they have that suddenly is like, see that S worker one needs to be thrown out, and then that victim one needs to get thrown out because they had relationships with this person, so they were all there for because they're a disgruntled ex and they're doing this out of revenge. No, I'm sorry. I believe the feds have what they have because Diddy did some wrong. Do I think he did all of these wrongs? 120 wrongs? No, not at all. As we are seeing slowly but surely, certain lawsuits are starting to drop. Okay? I truly believe that. And of course, when it comes to Tony Busby, there's some very interesting information that's going on with Tony Busby as well, which is very interesting. And we may have to talk about that later on this afternoon when I get a little bit more time. But nonetheless, interesting stuff, guys. But let's continue on. All right. Just be on the lookout. Make sure that notifications bell is set to all, please. Okay. Because we got a lot to talk about. And yeah, RIP eggs. Yeah. Yeah. You done your job, RIP eggs. Yeah, carbonized. You know what I mean? Man, bodybuilders are crying right now about eggs. I'm telling you, I'm serious. Every person that I know that's like, swole, they're like, eggs, man. Damn. You know what I mean? I've never seen a roided up man cry so much in my life over eggs. Yeah. But we're going to move on. Okay. The warrant applications relied on information about Assistant One, including redacted. The application said Assistant One redacted. Okay. As with Victim One, the applications failed to disclose that redaction. But the applications were particularly misleading in their recounting of supposed obstruction of justice. They stated Diddy had obstructed justice by redaction. But the government cherry-picked a couple of statements out of the context to imply redaction. But the complete thread demonstrates the opposite, redaction. Now, what's interesting is, again, they're sitting there. I feel like they're going off of literally this whole thing is technicality. It's technicalities. Like, I wish all this stuff wasn't so freaking redacted, but it is what it is. I truly believe, I'm telling you right now, I truly, truly believe they are trying to move the goalpost over a word or two. and then they're spinning with that word. When you say the, what you mean? Do you mean the as in the, or do you mean the as in the? It depends on what is. Is could be this and is could be that. Now, wouldn't it be interesting that he used is instead of is? That's what it feels like what's going on here. When you say relationship, were you really in a relationship the entire time, or was you not in a relationship the entire time? When you talk about relationship, can you define relationship? Because it was a relationship, right? You had relations in that relationship, right? So let's talk about that relationship. Can you define relationship for me? And is and the, because the and is could be two different things. You feel me? Oh, dear God. That's what it feels like to me right now. Okay? That's what it feels like. And Jane is from UK, and you don't like tea? Whoops, wrong thing. Wrong thing, guys. Sorry. But what? Really? Like, what is that? Oh my God. Yeah. You don't like tea, but you're British. Oh my God. Okay. I'm done. But yeah, that's weird. You guys are having a whole conversation like yesterday. You're like, Jif's natural peanut butter with honey is the goat. And then y'all like, and toasted bread. So now we're talking about tea and maple syrup. Are we talking about our nationalities stereotypes? Is that what we're doing right now? Like us Americans, we just live off of what? Hamburgers and pizza or something like that. Let me ask you guys this. I know it's a little bit of a left turn, but what okay, for those of y'all who are across the pond or up above us right now, I'm talking about Canadians. Okay. I'm curious. What do you think that we eat all the time? Americans. Because I said the maple syrup on Canadians. British, I always feel like, would you like a spot of tea? You know what I mean? All the time. Oh, tea and crumpets. You know what I mean? A spot of tea and biscuits. Cheerio. So I'm wondering what you guys think we do. What is it? Just tubs of lard? Like, what do you guys what do you guys think we eat all the time? We're gonna continue, but you guys are off on another tangent right now, talking about food again. Okay, but I'm wondering who, S-dubs? I eat cactus. That's quite prickly of you. That's the saying. But interesting. Is it, what do you guys think we eat all the time? Look at Rich Buddy says Wheaties. What? That's what Americans eat all day long, just Wheaties. Come on now. We're gonna get back into this, but you just put it in the chat. I'm just curious. Sorry for the left turn, but woo! Legal stuff all day long. Okay. Steak and sushi. Okay, I'm gonna look. I'll be back. So again, like I said, I feel like they're doing all this, moving everything, moving the goalposts as much as they can, and basically saying, this is all over words, right? And they're trying to spin certain things, just like what they did with the Freak Off tapes with Cassie in it. They said, oh, she's enjoying it. She's enjoying every minute of it. It's like, wow, that is some calloused, messed up stuff. Okay? That's some calloused, wet, messed up stuff, y'all. That they would sit there and go, well, you could see the look of pleasure on her face. She's enjoying everything now. No, I disagree, right? So I feel like this is the same thing. Whatever information they got, they're sitting there and just going to move it as best as they can. That's it, okay? But Diddy is very much done, okay? Stick a fork in him. He's done. This was not a harassing or threatening exchange. It was rather blank. Does not remotely make out probable cause for an act of obstruction, but the government plucked a few quotes out of context. Plucked a few quote, like I said. Can you? Well, it depends on what is. You know, we got to define is. You see what I'm saying? Once again, a few quotes were taken out of context, and thus presented the magistrate with a completely distorted picture of what happened. The distortion could not have been accidental. It was a deliberate choice. Producer one. Some of the most salacious allegations recounted in the warrant applications came from producer one. Who's producer one? You know who that is? I guarantee you that's Lil Rod. Moving on. Who the government now says it will not even call to testify at trial. The investigator indicated he had interviewed producer one, and producer one had relayed stories about his time working for Combs. Producer one claimed, among other things, that redaction. But the most serious and specific allegation from producer one was his claim that redaction. The application states redaction. These accusations were never credible. They were uncorroborated redaction. And the government had boatloads. That's the first time I've ever seen that in a legal document. Boatloads of contrary evidence, including redaction. The government eventually dropped these allegations in later warrants, but their lack of credibility was manifest from the outset. The government once again failed to disclose producer one's financial incentive to fabricate and embellish. This is most definitely Lil Rod. This is most definitely Lil Rod for show. All right. It doesn't matter if he wasn't getting paid and he wanted to get paid and he was, if those things really did happen to him, then they really happened to him. Okay. The government had advised us it will not call producer one as a witness at Combs' trial. Presumably, that is because his stories were fantastical and he lacks any credibility. But his lack of credibility was equally apparent in March 2024, in part based on redaction. At a minimum, the warrant applications should have disclosed redaction, namely his motive to fabricate and to tell the government a story that matched the stories from these particular witnesses and victims. Once again, however, the government hid this from the magistrate. The investigators simply relayed producer one's claims without qualification as if he were a credible witness. Victim two, redaction. Wow, the whole thing redacted about victim two? Okay. Victim three, the affidavits alleged based on interviews with victim three that Diddy redaction. The relevance of these allegations is less clear. The claims about victim three appear under the header redaction. In any event, the warrant applications once again include none of the information the government must have known that called into question her credibility regarding the allegations. More redactions. Once again, none of this information necessary. None of the information necessary to assess her credibility was included in the warrant applications. Victim four. The warrant application included allegations that victim four redaction. They went on to state that redaction. The government, made no effort to corroborate victim four's claims. If it had conducted a reasonably competent investigation, it would have obtained evidence contradicting her account, including redaction. Okay. Applications failed to note that redaction. Designer one. The warrant application also includes allegations from designer one. More redaction. The government also claimed a representative of Diddy had engaged in obstruction when that's also redacted. The application failed to note the context of that redaction. In sum, three critical witnesses on which the government relied were all redaction. Not only did they have the general financial motive to fabricate these things, all right, Jesus, that information would have, to put it mildly, raised doubts about their credibility. But the government said nothing about redaction. Once again, it intentionally hid evidence that would have undermined their credibility. Okay. The misrepresentations, hold on, let's just see. Okay. I'm like, how much more redaction is going on? Jeez. The misrepresentation and misleading omissions in the warrants are frequent and patterned. The affiant omitted, for example, all information about all the witnesses, blank, and financial motives to fabricate. These omissions were quote unquote related and exculpatory, indicating recklessness. This is a case where Leahy, I guess. This is a case where the quote unquote cumulative effect of all the omissions was to eliminate nearly every indicator detracting from the witness's reliability. This is a case where the affiant failed to provide all potentially adverse information that might have undermined a probable cause finding. The law requires the government to include all critical exculpatory information in a warrant application. Here, the government included none. Okay. STing, like CP, is so repulsive a crime that those entrusted to root it out may, in their zeal, be tempted to bend or even break the rules. So they're basically saying, because these things are so wrong with STing and, of course, CP when it comes to littles and all that, yes, it's absolutely repulsive that people would do anything they can to make sure that that person goes down. That's basically what they're saying, right? That there is a temptation to try to take somebody down as much as they can, right? Because they want to take that monster down. Damn right. I understand that desire to bend the rules or break the rules, but at the same time, we're talking about the feds here, guys. I'm still here. We're talking about the feds, y'all. We ain't talking about somebody else. We ain't talking about some random Joe Blow on the street. Because again, one small move, one little mistake, one comma in the wrong place in a sentence could destroy the Fed's case against Diddy, right? In any case that they have on anybody, right? So, when government investigators cheat to obtain warrants, they quote unquote endanger the freedom of us all. In cases like this, it is essential that courts enforce the requirements of the Fourth Amendment, both to protect the individual defendant's rights and also to deter this sort of government misconduct. Let me just say this again. I'm going to keep on repeating this till I'm blue in the face. They are suddenly coming out with this crap now. You got to understand. They should have presented this a long time ago when the raids actually happened, actually before the raids even happened. If there were warrants and they needed to be signed off by a judge, if they had any inkling that there were going to be raids being done, even immediately after, okay? Even immediately after the raids were done, they should have posted this. They should have submitted this paperwork. You got to understand the timeline here, guys. The timeline of events. One moment they have the raid, then they raid the jail. His team goes ham on how they violated his, I think it was like his 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment rights and all that stuff, right? When they went and got some information that was very damning and very, very revealing about what Diddy is doing behind bars, right? Things that he wasn't supposed to be doing. And that stuff came out in paperwork, legal documents, right? They go crazy, they go ham on that. But then when the judge like, okay, we're not going to when they put that stuff out and saying you cannot use that information, the prosecution says, "Oh, don't worry about it. We don't need it. We don't need it. It's fine. We got enough on him on just the raids alone." Now they're going, but now the raids are that bad? Oh, snap. So now we're going to do everything we can to make up as much as we can to see if we can get all this stuff thrown out. You realize that if any of this stuff gets thrown out, there's a potential that Diddy could get out, because then they don't have anything. The feds won't have anything to pin up against Diddy, and that's a bad thing. But all I'm saying is the only reason why they're saying this stuff now is because they know for a fact the feds have a lot of evidence that's going to destroy, it's going to cook Diddy. That's the only reason why they're talking about this now. This is a conversation that they should have had months ago. Immediately after the raids happened, this should have happened. His team should have been filing this paperwork. Like I said, it's all about the timing. It's all about the timeline too. And now we're seeing proof positive that Diddy scurred. Okay? The misstatements and omissions were material. Let's take a look at this. There is no question, based on the above evidence, that the warrant applications contain falsehoods and misleading omissions. The remaining question, the second prong of Frank's, is whether those falsehoods were material. This analysis examines what a hypothetical truthful warrant application would have stated and whether that information would have supported probable cause. In the case of misstatements, a reviewing court must, quote unquote, set aside the misstatements and determine whether the untainted portions were sufficient for probable cause. In the case of misleading omissions, a court must, quote unquote, insert the omitted truths and determine whether they undermine probable cause. Here, truthful applications would have stated that victims, one, redaction, but also that the relationship was long, complicated, and often loving. They would have stated that redaction, such a truthful presentation, would not have provided probable cause for an STing charge or any other federal offense. Still, less would it have provided a basis to search everything and anything in Diddy's two residences a decade later. Oh, this is definitely about Cassie. Truthful applications would have stated that Diddy, redaction. They would have stated that producer one, Lil Rod, redaction. They would have stated that such and such. Such a truthful presentation would not have provided probable cause for STing or racketeering. Truthful applications would have stated that after redaction, they would have noted, however, that nearly all of these witnesses had also such and such. I'm assuming like relationships with him or something of that sort, right? They would have noted that some of Combs' representatives, redaction, such a truthful presentation would not have provided probable cause for obstruction of justice. The government here unfortunately just demonstrated a dam of torpedoes, full speed ahead mentality, in its zeal to prosecute a famous target, it rushed ahead and violated the law. It submitted an egregiously false and misleading summary of the evidence, thus denying the quote-unquote neutral and disinterested magistrate the opportunity to independently determine whether probable cause existed based on a fair and truthful summary of the evidence. It presented only inculpatory evidence, and it hid all exculpatory evidence. These falsehoods, taken in the aggregate, were material to the probable cause determination. Truthful and complete applications would not have provided probable cause to search both Combs' residences and all his devices. Really? Again, they're singing for their supper. Because again, if they're having all of that information, let's be real. There was not like, okay, well, let's talk about Lil Rod and Cassie's lawsuits. There's plenty of information in there. Sure, there's a few things. Oh, they had a loving relationship at one point, but it sounded very toxic as hell, right? You have Lil Rod. Sure, he was an employee there, but he also says he was violated and he was forced to do certain things that he didn't want to do. Same thing with Cassie too, right? Let's not forget that. That's enough. That's enough information. What is being said in the paperwork, what is being said out here, this, like I said, they're really trying. This is just sad. It's just sad. We got a little bit more left to go. So warrants were unconstitutionally broad. Yeah. The warrants themselves were also unconstitutionally broad. The charges here reflect an extraordinary legal theory on Diddy is himself an enterprise, and that his businesses, his household, his personal relationships, and his spicy lifestyle, were all part of this criminal conspiracy. That broad theory is alleged in the indictment and reflected in the warrants. The government essentially took the position that everything about his life is possible evidence of a crime. In a series of warrants, it thus sought authority to search and seize anything in A, his iCloud account, B, his residences, C, his cell phones, D, his hotel room. The only limitation was that evidence had to be, quote unquote, related to the subject offenses. But because the theory was that his entire life was a racketeering enterprise, that was no limitation at all. This case, quote unquote, implicates the central concern underlying the Fourth Amendment, the concern about giving police officers unbridled discretion to rummage at will among a person's private effects. I mean, that's what a search warrant is for, right? But moving on. That is exactly what the warrants unlawfully allowed. The Fourth Amendment forbids general warrants. The Fourth Amendment's warrant clause requires that any valid warrant must state with particularity, the place to be searched and the things to be seized. The purpose of this requirement was to prevent the government from using broad warrants to rummage through a person's whole life. The chief evil that prompted the framing and adoption of the Fourth Amendment was the quote unquote indiscriminate searches and seizures conducted by the British, quote unquote, under authority of general warrants. A warrant must, at a minimum, satisfy three criteria. It must specify the offense. It must describe the place to be searched, and it must specify the relationship between the items sought and the designated crimes. In addition to those three general factors, there are also circumstance-specific considerations that bear on legality. For example, a warrant that fails to indicate a reasonably specific date range can be constitutionally overbroad. Moreover, the search and seizure of personal electronic devices raises additional concerns. The seizure of such devices, quote unquote, can give the government possession of a vast trove of personal information about the person to whom the drive belongs, much of which may be entirely irrelevant to the criminal investigation that led to the seizure. I mean, what in the hell? If you have to hand over your phone, it's bull. It's such trash. Okay, a cell phone, moving on, a cell phone search, for example, would typically expose to the government far more than the most exhaustive search of a house, because a phone not only contains a digital form, many sensitive sensitive records previously found in the home. It also contains a broad array of private information never found in a home in any form. Indeed, these devices contain the privacies of life. Warrants seeking to seize and search personal devices therefore create serious risk that every warrant for electronic information will become, in effect, a general warrant. Thus, the Second Circuit has held the warrants lacking meaningful parameters, on an otherwise limitless search of a person's electronic devices are invalid. Again, okay. Sorry, you can miss me with them getting his phone and his devices and all that stuff. If he hands them over and they go through them, it is what it is. Okay. So like I said, this is trash, absolute trash. Again, at bottom, the core A that the Fourth Amendment sought to prohibit was general exploratory rummaging in a person's belongings. That is true as to the belongings in a person's home, and as to the belongings on a person's cell phone. In this case, the government sought and received authority for general exploratory rummaging through Diddy's entire physical and digital life. The warrants obtained by the government in this case were virtually limitless. Let me get a sip of water real quick. Okay. Have mercy. We got a little bit left. The government sought warrants in this case that give it the unfettered ability to search Diddy's residences, his digital devices, and his iCloud accounts, which I'm sure was interesting, right? The government's list of items to be seized from his houses was pages long, and it is stunning in its breadth. The government claimed the right to seize, among other things, evidence of Diddy's location, or anything reflecting the location of any co-conspirator or witness, which, according to the government, seems to mean anyone who ever worked for Diddy or went to a party. That's something interesting. So in other words, there's going to be more people. Like, remember, they have like over 50 witnesses coming in, and I think that has everything to do with anything that they found on location. So if some big Hollywood star was seen in some videos, they're going to have to call them up. Hey, we need to have you here. You are asked to come and testify, or you need to come in and be interrogated, right? You will be deposed, etc. So again, that's not good. Utility bills, mail, correspondence, address books, all calendars or scheduling information, including travel records, all financial records, including bank statements and credit card statements, plus all cash, property deeds or titles, or anything related to property ownership, plus any evidence relating to online financial accounts, any spicy toys, sexually suggestive clothing, whatever that means. That's funny. Plus any medical supplies or any other materials possibly related to the sex, plus any bodily fluid or any other material that might contain DNA evidence. Wow. So if they went in there and just found like random, okay, any communication or record of communication with any former partner or employee of the Combs business, plus any communication related to the charged offenses, which was, as noted, defined incredibly broadly, with any possible victim, co-conspirators, or witnesses. Remember, they said that again any correspondence, any type of communication with people, so on and so forth. So there is the dynamite. Boom is the dynamite, or boom goes the dynamite. That shows us proof positive that any correspondence, they're calling everybody in. Any person that's been in these videos, any text messages that he sent out to people. Hey man, last night was cool, blah blah blah. I needed to get rid of all the pizza boxes and the plastics. Any of that stuff, they're calling all those people in. Remember, the feds allegedly have over 50 witnesses / victims that are a part of this case and a part of this trial. And I'm sure they got a lot of that from his digital Rolodex. Corporate recordings, including corporate organizational and ownership documents and employment records. Any digital device that contain evidence, including phones, computers, iPads, and cameras. I don't see any wrong with all that. That sure is broad, but what are they going to do? We want to look through his Photos app on his iPhone. Are you kidding me? They're going to be like, no, we want to get his phone, because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff on his phone that show racketeering, that shows STing. What are you talking about, man? Okay, these descriptions were often written with catch-all clauses with regular use of phrases like such as, including without limitation, and including but not limited to. That seems very, very straightforward. It's like, we want his phone, okay, including not limited to his computers, his iPads, his cameras. That seems very straightforward, guys. The list above is thus not even a remotely complete list of what the warrant sought. It merely sets forth some of the high-level categories targeted by the government. The government's warrants to search Diddy's iCloud accounts and his cell phones were similarly broad. As to what information it sought, the government may just as well have said everything. Of course. Of course, they're not going to know what to find until they find it. You see what I'm saying? The iCloud warrant sought the ability to search anything stored in the accounts. The cell phone warrant, both the initial March warrants and the subsequent September warrant, sought all communications, photos, documents, calendars, location data, travel records, financial records, call records, and so on, anything related to the subject offenses. Yeah, makes sense to me. But because the subject offenses were defined as including all of Combs' businesses, his household, and his relationship with his girlfriends over the last 2 decades, it is hard to think of anything that would have been, quote unquote, related to the subject offenses. Okay. In United States versus Way, Judge Nathan held that similarly broad warrants were unconstitutionally broad and suppressed the evidence obtained through the warrants. Way involved security fraud offenses, and the government obtained warrants to search both his residence and his place of business. The warrants broadly sought any and all records or evidence that might be related to the offense, including financial records, bills, messages, travel records, photographs, computers, cell phones, and so on. Indeed, the broad list of items to be seized very much resembled the list in this case. Well, not all cases are the same. I'm just going to say that too. All right. Doesn't matter if that judge deemed it to be too broad, right? You can't just toss all this stuff out. There is probable cause. There is reason to get into his stuff. So you can miss me with the nonsense of them saying otherwise. But that's just what I think. The district court ruled that the warrants were overbroad and therefore illegal. Several key reasons undergirded the ruling. Although the warrants generally identified the crime as securities fraud, the categories of documents sought were so broad and numerous as to be consistent with an investigation into almost any form of financial crime. More importantly, the warrants set forth quote unquote expansive categories of often generic items subject to seizure, several of a catch-all variety without crucially any linkage to the suspected criminal activity or indeed any meaningful content-based parameter or other limiting principle. Okay. In way, as here, the listed property was not illegal contraband. Rather, it was property in lawful use that the government only vaguely suggested might be quote unquote related to broadly specified criminal activity. In way, as here, the warrants lacked any meaningful temporal limitation on the items that could be seized. At bottom, the warrants, in way, violated the Fourth Amendment because they authorized, quote unquote, the seizure of sweeping categories of materials and lacked, quote unquote, any practical tool to guide searching agents in distinguishing meaningfully between materials of potential evidentiary value and those obviously devoid of it. As Judge Nathan concluded, the warrants are, in function, if not in form, general warrants. The same is true here. Indeed, the warrants here are even more infirm, whereas the warrants in way authorized unbounded search of the defendant's business affairs. The warrants here authorized unbounded search of Diddy's business and personal affairs. The warrants here allowed the very sort of general exploratory rummaging in a person's belongings that the Fourth Amendment forbids. Nor can the government evade the Fourth Amendment's limits simply by stating that Diddy was himself a sort of criminal racketeering enterprise, and therefore all evidence of his business and personal life was relevant evidence of a crime. If such a rhetorical trick were allowed, the Fourth Amendment would lose all meaning. Interesting. Lord Chief Justice Holt once famously challenged a prosecutor. Hold, what are you doing now? Are you going to arraign his whole life? This is exactly what the government did here. It charged Diddy's whole life as a racketeering enterprise, and then it obtained warrants to search his whole life. The iCloud warrant, the warrants to search his house. I think that his houses, I think they meant his houses. That's a bad typo. But the warrants to search his houses, okay. The cell phone warrants and the Park Hyatt warrant were individually and collectively exactly the sort of general warrants that the Fourth Amendment sought to prohibit. In conclusion, for the foregoing reasons, this court should suppress the evidence and all fruits obtained from the warrants to search Diddy's residences, his person, his iCloud account, and his devices. These warrants were unconstitutionally broad. In the alternative, and at a minimum, this court should order a Franks hearing to hear additional evidence and determine whether the warrants were improperly obtained through deception. And this is from Alexandra Shapiro. And of course, the whole rest of the team. Team Diddy. Now here, except for Anthony Rico, because he gone. Now, here's the thing, guys. This is well, first off, Jellycats, thank you so much for the super sticker. This to me, and I've already said it a million times in the last, almost 2 hours that we've been on this piece. This to me is a desperate a desperate act. This is a desperate move by, in my opinion, okay, this is a desperate move by Diddy's team. Let's not forget, they did the same thing about the raids. They kept moving. They kept trying to go after it. They kept trying to move the goalposts. They kept trying to make excuses on how the things that they found that were discovered in there should not be used in court and all that stuff. The prosecution said, "Don't worry about it. We don't need it." Then the prosecution came out with the information basically saying that, hey, we have at least 50 individuals that are going to step forward and speak out, 50 individuals that are either a witness or a victim of Diddy, and then some. This is an absolute desperate attempt at trying to get Diddy out. And is the judge going to really fall for this? Probably not. You want to know why? Because again, this is something that should have been brought up a long time ago. Okay? Yeah, no kidding, Wanda. Yeah, this is toilet paper. Okay? They just, you know what? A lot of environmentalists, a lot of environmental activists would be very mad right now because this is a waste of paper. Okay? But here it is. If this was unconstitutional, if this was some sort of violation of his rights and all that stuff, you don't think that the judge would have seen that already? You don't think the judge would have said something by now? Again, I'll say it again, like I said earlier. If this was that big of a deal, why didn't his team bring this up after the raids happened? Now, I get it that they don't have everything right then and there. So I'm saying even just a few weeks after. Because you got to know that the prosecution and the defense have to give each other there has to be discovery. They have to know what evidence that is being presented in court. All of it, all the bells and whistles, both sides need to see both. What the defense is presenting, what prosecution is presenting to make it a fair trial. Can't just throw in curveballs and everything. So again, they've known about this stuff for a while. So then now it's like, oh wow, we now need to. Now we're making a fuss about it. Now, again, why suddenly make a fuss about it now when it should have been before? And again, these things, they have these hearings. They talk about the evidence. They go through all that stuff. Whether it's something that can be used or if it can be thrown out, all that stuff. The only reason why this team is now freaking out is because they know that the feds have something that can really take Diddy down and show that Diddy has done some very bad things. And he has done some very incriminating stuff. But now they're going, oh, these search warrants, they're so broad. I mean, I feel like if they believe that his enterprise was his lifestyle, which it clearly was, in my personal opinion, then yeah, they should be able to go in to his home, go through his computers, go through his phones, go through all his devices, all the hard drives and all that stuff, and stick something to him, right? Show proof positive that this guy has been doing some illegals. But if he hasn't done anything illegal, then yeah, he should be out there free. Free as a bird, but he's not. Why? Because the feds have things on him. And you can miss me on the nonsense of like, oh, he's a disgruntled employee or she's an angry ex. Well, explain to me why she got $30 million then from Diddy in a settlement. Explain that to me. And you're still trying to sit there and use her name and say that her stuff is bupkis. That makes no sense. That makes no sense to me, guys. Let me see here. Hold on. Where are the others who participated? Why are they not being brought up? That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I feel like they're going off of like 4 or 5 different witnesses / victims, right? On just this paperwork. I don't know if they're really trying to, go after, but they only mentioned 4 or 5 of them. And remember, there's about 50 witnesses and victims that are going to be stepping forward, allegedly testifying against Diddy. And that's massive. But they only pulled out 4. I mean, about 5 of them in here. That's including Lil Rod and Cassie. At least that's my theory, right? So that's very interesting. Okay. And again, March is coming. And allegedly mid-March, there's going to be more information dropping mid-March on Diddy's ass. So again, I don't know. I just don't think that Cassie would go out of her way to just make and fabricate things and make lies for the sake of that, just because she had maybe a toxic relationship with this man. I don't think she would go out of her way to file things and say certain things out here like this. Like say pull an Amber Heard, right? Or a Blake Lively. I don't think that she's that. I just don't think that she would do that. And if it was all lies, why would he settle? Why would he ever even settle? Think about that. We're talking about Diddy, guys. You really think that Diddy's just going to sit there and go, no. Oh, man. Yeah, she's lying, but I'm going to pay her. Are you kidding me? No. He ain't going to pay that. He's going to be like, I got fun coupons. That's how much money I have. I have so much money. It's just paper. We can fight this in court all day long until I bleed you dry financially. So go ahead. Let's have some fun. He didn't do that. He said, so Ventura or your new last name? Should I make it out to Cassie such and such or Cassie Ventura? Real talk. Or it's like, hey, how my bank account is set up. Can we do like in payments? Or, every 6 months. But he didn't do that. Or he did that. He did that instead. He didn't go, let's fight it. Okay? It's weird, guys. It's weird. So, again, for them to come out with this, it's just like what we dealt with the raid in his cell. It's the same BS, and this is what they're gonna do. They're gonna attack this for as much as they can, for as long as they can, until the judge comes back and says, "Shut up." That's what's gonna happen. The judge is gonna come back and go, "There's no grounds for what you're putting out here. What you're saying is absolute BS," and so we're gonna continue. Because you got to remember, if they can't use any of this evidence, they got nothing. The feds. So, very, very interesting, guys. But that is the show, guys. I appreciate all y'all for being here. It really means a lot. Of course, I'll be back on hopefully a little bit later on this afternoon. There's a lot we got to talk about. There's a lot to cover. There's a lot of craziness going on. Okay? There's a lot of craziness going on. So be on the lookout for some updates and some videos here very, very soon. But hit that like button down below. Sorry, guys, I got to run out. Okay. But definitely comment down below. Let me know your thoughts and continue the chat, the conversation in the comment section down below. Love to hear your thoughts on everything. All right. But again, I think this is just, they got nothing, but we'll see what the judge says. The judge might agree. I don't think he will, but we'll see what happens. All right. So anyway, guys, it is time to get going. Much love to you guys. We'll be talking soon. Hit that like button down below. Hit that reaction button. Hit that subscribe button. Follow if you can. Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon, my locals. And of course, don't forget to check out PascalMerch.com. Okay. Yeah. Ridiculous. Okay. Ridiculous indeed. But anyway, guys, I'll be talking to you guys very soon. Have a great rest of your afternoon, and we'll talk soon. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.